Hey, this is Gary with Today for Tomorrow, and if you're like me and you love plants and you love landscaping, then you're going to love this video. Today we're going to take some tips from the greatest landscape designer of all times, and that is Mother Nature. Behind me here is scrub habitat. We're in the Yamato scrub area in Boca Raton, Florida, and I'm going to take you to a couple scrub areas here in the city, and I'm telling you what, Mother Nature's got it down here. I think this is the perfect look if you're doing a modern or like a beachy or coastal look. I think this balance of species is soft yet sophisticated, organic, just sculptural. I love it. And it's really comprised of just 4 or 5 species. There's so many things that people get wrong when they're trying to landscape, and you can really avoid a lot of those pitfalls just by copying Mother Nature. Let's check it out today. We're going to look at all kinds of species, why you want to choose native species. There's so many reasons for that, and we'll get into that. And we're also going to look at what Mother Nature is doing right in terms of design so that you don't make the mistakes, so that you're happy with your yard. So as we explore this area and others today, one of the things I want you to pay attention to is straight lines and symmetry. You're not going to see either in nature. I think one of the biggest mistakes beginners make when they're trying to landscape in their own yard is to take a straight line of a house or a driveway and to immediately start their design based on that. And then they tend to plant in straight rows and straight lines, or even trim a hedge straight. In doing so, you lose all of that natural softness of nature. Take a look at these next 2 houses here. Beautiful landscaping. I'm not knocking the houses, but I want to show you the symmetry and the repetition and the straight lines coming off the house. Look in this first house here, how you have 3 layers of bushes, small bush, big bush, small bush, all straight off the house. And in the second house here, you're going to see that palm tree, space, palm tree, space, palm tree, and then pink flowers on this side, pink flowers on that side, and everything oriented off the house. Again, not knocking the houses, they have beautiful landscaping, but it's almost like they're dressing up the house with clothes instead of giving a beautiful space to enjoy in front of the house. Here's another thing you don't see in nature, and that's repetition. Does this not look like a computer programmer just copied and pasted the same tree? Not a nice look. Imagine instead if this were stately oak trees branching out, and then again underneath, no real undercover for habitat. Imagine if instead there's some beautiful silver saw palmetto. Finally, the ficus tree is just not a native species, and it's prone to all kinds of pests and problems and has to constantly be trimmed, causing it to look thin as well. So again, a big miss, I think, on the landscaper's behalf here. Would have been better to take a page from Mother Nature's book here. So let's talk about native species. So there's a few reasons to use native species in your yard. First and foremost really is that your yard is habitat. It's the only habitat you have control of in your whole lifetime, really. So you have a chance to create habitat for your local wildlife. So why not go ahead and make your yard a continuation of the natural areas in your neck of the woods? So also, by planting with native species, you are controlling for drought, and you're also controlling for pests. Look around here. All of this is living just on nature. There's no pesticides being sprayed, and there's no sprinklers. But everything is healthy. So by planting natural species, you're going to be lowering your water bill and eliminating all that need for harmful chemicals in your yard. Hey, I want to show you something pretty cool here. Check out this super white sugar sand. That's what all this forest is growing on. So when you use native species, you don't need all kinds of fertilizers and pesticides. They're going to do their thing. They know how to survive. So let's talk about a couple of the native species that you can use here in the South Florida area. Right here we're looking at mulhy grass, which I just love the texture of, and in certain times of year these flowers are actually pink. It's really beautiful, but they have that nice delicate texture, and they're also very sculptural. I just love the way they look, and they're soft. Perfect for that kind of a beach type of a beachy vibe, or a very soft vibe, and it works very well for a modern look too. Then right behind the grass here, you'll see palmetto, and that saw palmetto kind of comes in a silvery lighter and also a brighter green look. Here's a good example of a silver palmetto, and then you can see the green coloration behind, and check out that gorgeous oak tree with all those ferns growing in it. And both of those are beautiful. And again, these are plants that they're slow growers. So you kind of just plant them and let them go. You're not always maintaining them or trimming them. Just let them do their thing. Now behind these, a little taller there, is a sable palm. Now that's our state tree. And if you've ever heard of cabbage palm or hearts of palm, that's what we're talking about here. And that's just a great choice down here. Once again, it's a relatively slow grower, it's very sculptural, and it does not need a whole lot of water. Here are some younger sable palms. Notice they have still the fronds attached down low, but they've been trimmed off. That's called a booted look, and that's very popular in landscaping, and you can see why. So the young trees have the fronds, and then as they get older, the fronds shed off, and you get just kind of a straight, rough looking trunk. Back in the background here, you can see the oak trees with the Spanish moss, and that is just a beautiful tree. It's very low maintenance. One thing I will say about oaks is they don't start out looking like that. They're a very kind of unremarkable young tree. It takes a good 20 to 25 years for them to start getting that really nice form you see there. Here's an example of some young oak trees. They're still pretty, but you can see they don't have those nice horizontal branching limbs. As you look out across the landscape here, one of the things you're going to notice is there's not a lot of color. There's various shades of tans and greens and grays, silvers, but you're not seeing those bright tropical colors you might associate with South Florida landscaping. Personally, it is a matter of taste, but I think one of the big mistakes that amateur landscapers make is they go right for the color. And that's a hard thing to pull off, because colors are where your eyes go. We can't help it. And you might have a color in your house, a color in a plant, a color in the plant next to that, and pretty soon it's all just clashing, kind of like a bad wardrobe decision. So my suggestion is to go ahead, and when you're using native plants, you don't see a lot of color, and that's a benefit. Use subdued natural colors, and then you can throw a seasonal pop in with a flowering tree or a flowering bush. Remember, with color, a little goes a long way. Here's an example of a whole lot of color. Could you imagine if they had a blue car in that driveway? But seriously though, I am not knocking their landscaping. It looks beautiful, but I just appreciate a more subtle palette with a little pop of color here or there with a seasonal tree. Speaking of pops of color and native species, here is firebush. I noticed some of our state butterflies, zebra longwings, flying around, and here's why. It is the firebush. This is a great plant to have in your yard to attract butterflies and give you a little pop of color. So we've spent this video talking about native species in terms of plants, and I just want to finish up with native species in terms of animals. Here's a notice I've seen in both parks I visited today for feral cats. This is a real problem. Out of the goodness of people's hearts, they're feeding these wild cats, but what they don't understand is that these cats truly are top predators, and they are just wreaking havoc on all the birds and small mammals and reptiles in these areas. Please, please, if you want to do something for these cats, the best thing to do is alert the authorities, and they will handle them in a humane way. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you took home the importance of native species in our own yards. Remember, it's the little things that we all do in our daily lives today that make such a huge difference in all of our tomorrows. Thanks for watching.